This is Money Moves on VSiN, the sports betting network.
What up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you live in downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort and Casino got a jam-packed 2 hours ahead. And JVT, we're already underway here. We got a trio of rubber match games already in action as we get started.
Yes, we do. Day baseball is the best of the baseball. So got a couple of games, including your Padres in the top of the sixth inning of a scoreless match between them and the Pittsburgh Pirates. And right now we are going to get a play at third. My man is going to be out. I don't know what we're calling here, so we'll keep an eye on that. But yes, multiple games, Cleveland and Kansas City. This has been a low-scoring, ugly series so far. It's been kind of cold, but today, weather may be a little bit more workable here. Cleveland up 3-0 in the top of the third. 4-0 top of the third. They closed about plus 117 dogs against Cole Reagans and the Royals. And then Milwaukee has to face Sonny Gray and the Boston Red Sox. Bottom of the second, the Red Sox are desperately trying to get their winning ways going here against the Brew Crew.
For all of Boston's struggles, though, they did win yesterday as a short favorite 3-2 against Milwaukee. Obviously, the Brew Crew, as you put it. Leaders in the NL Central, dogs again this morning. Boston minus 143 at close. Sonny Gray and Shane Drohan going, who coincidentally was actually traded from the Red Sox this offseason, making his debut with the Brewers today. The opening total was 7. We're down to 5.5 now. Again, it's very early, but if you do think that maybe these bats can get going as we go, the over 5.5, slight juice there at minus 118. And that is a good segue for how we can kick off the rundown today, because we're going to have a lot of baseball.
It's time for the top headlines and topics of the day. This is the Rundown.
In addition, JVT, to the action that we already have underway right now, we'll have 5 more that'll have first pitch while we're on air today. We will preview them all, including Orioles-White Sox in about 10 minutes. We'll preview that game in a moment.
That game, but who cares? It's all about tonight, the rematch. Actually, it's 1 o'clock. Who cares? Angels and Braves. We had a literal throwdown yesterday, so that was great. And now we get to see them go at it again, as you would call it, a rubber match between the two teams. Angels off to a very dramatic start to the season. A lot of different storylines, but looking forward to the rest of the card as well, including Brian Wu and Mackenzie Gore. That's going to be an awesome game that gets started in 33 minutes from now.
Yeah, we will talk about that benches clearing brawl in a moment. But we also have plenty of hoops and hockey to get to as the playoffs are near. We have 4 days left in the NBA regular season. While we know all the teams that are in the NBA, only one has actually cemented their seed officially. We've got a couple clinching scenarios in the balance tonight. 8 days left, meanwhile, in the NHL. Just a 3-game card for us today on the ice. But so much in the balance in this final week of the NHL regular season when it comes to those final wild cards, when it comes to seeding as well. We only have one first-round series set, and that got set last night. That we'll see the Wild and Stars go head-to-head after Colorado clinched the division yesterday.
Wait for my Ducks to show up last night, huh?
Yeah.
In a brutal spot for Nashville, and you get your rear ends kicked like that.
But good day for you and your Detroit future
Wings
as well.
Yep, Red Wings to miss the postseason.
That's almost dead. It's almost dead as a doornail. You've got to be excited.
They've lost 3 straight, 3-6-1 in their last 10. They're sitting a point behind Columbus now, and with that head-to-head, and 3 points out of that second playoff spot. That looked dead. But not only are they outside of the playoff picture, which I desperately need, but Edmonton is on top of the Pacific Division. So if we could get these things home, not every single one of my futures will be a dumpster fire in the NHL.
They lose yesterday 6-5 to the Utah Mammoth, but it's in overtime, so they still get the point to maintain that spot at the top.
Suck it, Vegas. Yeah, now everybody else can get the overtime losses.
Although Vegas gets the win yesterday, too. So they now 4 straight wins under John Tortorella. We'll discuss them a little bit later on. But obviously, with it being Masters Week, we have a lot to talk about with Augusta on deck here. And our Green Jacket Gambler is going to join the program in 15 minutes. VSiN's own Kelly Bidlin going to hold over after being on a numbers game all day earlier this morning. And then at 12:15 Pacific, 3:15 Eastern, Jason Lisk is going to join us. Content analysis for team rankings. Talk about what is this Masters Splash Sports contest that's been going on that everybody's so excited about.
Yeah, fun breakdown. We'll have everything. We've got our sheets, so we're ready to go. So we'll give you a full analysis on how the contest is going to go, what some selections would be, and what some of the popular picks are going to be as well.
You see any of the par 3 contests this morning?
No, I did not.
Justin Thomas had a hole one like right away. It was pretty sweet.
I always forget the only time I've ever watched or any taken in the par 3 contest at the Masters was the year that Tony Finau, if you remember, dislocated his ankle and then went on, I think, to finish top 10 in the Masters, like that same tournament. So I usually forget about the par 3 for the most part. So no, I didn't.
I like it because I obviously am the softie between the two of us, and it's so fun to see like the kids out there and all the little fun family friendly moments that they have. That said, I know it's bad juju actually to win the par 3 contest. So whoever does end up winning it, maybe stay away from them for your Masters bets.
I also did see that as ESPN tries to continue to force the Kelsey brothers upon us, or at least the one of them.
Full outfit.
I'm good.
Let's get into the baseball, though, because
he's big and funny. Huh?
Like we said, the Orioles and White Sox going head-to-head here in just a few minutes. Orioles, we've talked about it this week. Tough start for them to the season, but an opportunity to get back to 500 today if they can get this 3-game sweep against Chicago. Favored to do so right now, -149 favorites. No real movement on this one from what I've seen. The total, however, down from 8.5 runs to 7.5 at open. And both games so far in this series have been close and low scoring.
Yeah, I mean, Sean Burke's been off to a pretty good start for the White Sox. Not a ton of bad numbers for him when you look at the start through 10 innings up to this point. Now, it's only one start in an appearance, so you take that for what it is. But 3.60 ERA, 105 fielding independent. xFIP is at 253. Hard contact numbers are pretty solid. Has only allowed 1 barrel so far over these 10 innings that we're discussing here. Excuse me. And some hard contact, but mostly the barrels being kept down. Bradish, on the other hand, not really fantastic so far. Strikeout numbers are there, but the command has been pretty wonky so far. Little unlucky on balls in play, so maybe that comes back down to earth, but he hasn't really been in a great spot. And maybe this is a situation which you can potentially look at the White Sox to be a little feisty. Like you said, we haven't seen a ton of movement here from the overnight. Circa opened up -150, got to as high as 165 before right back down to -147. So that's when we reached the peak and got a little buyback at +140. So I think at that price, if you got there, makes a little sense to take a piece of the White Sox and Burke, given the way that he's been pitching, and the opposite side of Bradish as well. But I was going to talk about a little bit later. Handicapping baseball, I like to handicap these pitchers so much in these last couple of days. The analysis on what I expect the pitchers are going to do has been there, but the results have not.
Yeah.
And so I think I've got to figure out a way to kind of differentiate, instead of maybe betting on the games, look at some of these total earned run props, things like that. If I'm so hyper-focused on some of these pitchers.
First fives, too.
Yeah. Although, I mean, last week that didn't really work for the Texas Rangers as they blew it in the bottom of the 5th. But whittling it down specifically to those pitchers a little bit more than going full money line, as the Marlins burned me again last night.
We will get into that discussion, though, a little bit later, as you mentioned. Worth noting, as you pointed out, though, maybe taking a shot on the White Sox. That's where the money has actually been going in this one. You look at some of the bet splits over at VSiN.com, which we do have that free betting splits page available. When you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get unlimited access to it. At DraftKings, despite just 27% of the total bets on Chicago, 43% of the money on that side. And here at Circa, where we're broadcasting from, 89% of the money is actually on Chicago there. You mentioned the brawl, so let's get into it. What did you make of what happened yesterday with Jorge Soler and company?
It's freaking awesome. I mean, so to explain the history here a little bit, Jorge Soler has had a pretty good history against Ronaldo Lopez. Yes. And so if you weren't watching yesterday, Soler's first at bat, he takes Ronaldo Lopez deep. It was a first pitch, swings it. It's a line drive homer out to left field. Trout, who had reached on somewhat of an error, gets out there too. So it's a 2-run shot immediately right off the bat. Well, Lopez doesn't like it. So the next time up, he's pitching inside on Soler, and Soler doesn't really like that. There's a lull in play, and Lopez is staring down Soler. So Soler says, you know what? Let's go, dude. And they go at it. Classic mound charge. Fantastic. Lopez, I don't know if he's going to get in a little bit more trouble. They were both swinging. Did you watch the video? Lopez full on hit him in the face with a baseball, right? So that is going to be something.
Instead of a fist, it was the freaking baseball.
So I wonder if that's it. And then did you see Walt Weiss in the scrum actually goes out there and full on wraps and drives Soler down to the ground and tackles him? Absolutely fantastic brawl in the Angels game. They end up losing 7-2, but still, Soler kind of gets the best of Lopez, and we'll see what happens. I haven't seen anything come down in terms of suspensions yet or anything like that, but good base brawl. Absolutely fantastic.
If you haven't seen the video, you have to go do it, because I actually think Walt Weiss, that's the highlight, is the form on the tackle, and it was a gang tackle essentially, but like he's leading the charge on it. Very fun. As for today, Grant Holmes against Reed Detmers, Braves a -122 favorite to get another win in the series. Run total sitting at 8.5. I wanted to ask you about all of the NBA tanking, and I know we can carry this over maybe a little bit with Kelly, but definitely when we dive into the NBA slate tomorrow. But take a listen to Draymond Green after their game against Sacramento yesterday about everything that's going on.
I saw a team tonight foul Seth Curry with 3 minutes to go in the game for no reason. In the penalty, I get fined when I do wrong. Just fine the hell out of people. You know, we love taking money from players. Keep fining the teams. I've seen 2 fines. And we all know everybody tanking. But you've seen 2 fines. You know? If it was players, we snatch that money in a heartbeat. And we see 12 teams tanking. We've seen 2 fines. If my math serves me correctly, that's 10 that ain't been fined. Just some quick math. It could be wrong, so don't judge me if it's wrong. But, you know, we don't keep that same energy when it comes to teams, when it comes to officials, when it comes to everybody but players. We don't keep that same energy. But it's a players' league.
That foul was pretty crazy work.
It was. So here's the thing: like the Kings have been winning these ridiculous games down the stretch here. They beat the Jazz, they beat the Nets, they beat the Pelicans. That's their last 3 of their last 4 wins. It's just absolutely catastrophic victories for a team that doesn't want to win some of these games. They were blatantly tanking yesterday, and I think Draymond's right to a certain extent. If you're the league, if you don't like this, instead of making up rules after the fact, you have to do something to these teams in the now. Fine them, do whatever. As he said, only 2 teams have been fined to this point. That was blatant what they did yesterday. I'm surprised the players bought in, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
Like doing that, it was absolutely ridiculous. So I would agree. I think you have to do something about this if you're Adam Silver, if you're being serious about getting rid of this problem.
Obviously, Kelly does such a great job with so many sports. We're going to primarily talk golf with him coming up next, but curious his opinion on that as well. Maybe he's got some NBA plays that he can dole out. We are just getting started here on Money Moves. Stick around. So much more to come here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
So you're listening to this podcast because you want an edge. But what if I told you you're only halfway there? You've got the mindset. Now it's time to get the toolkit to match. Here's the thing. Pro bettors spend thousands on data and tools. But what they don't want you to know is that you can get the same edge for a fraction of the cost with VSiN Pro. VSiN Pro gives you access to expert picks, public betting data, prop projections, powerful tools, analytics, and more. Just tap the link in the description and see why thousands of bettors are already using VSiN Pro to cash more bets.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Baseball every day, live games in action right now. We got the NBA and NHL postseason upon us in short order. The Sharp Plays is covering it all. They've been winning for 15 straight years. All of it's documented, logs posted publicly at sharpplays.com. That kind of transparency is rare in the industry. When the Sharp Plays move, the sports books take notice. Advanced AI, trusted insider intel. They find the value before numbers shift. Start winning with them over at sharpplays.com. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you back here in downtown Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. Excited to have our good buddy Kelly Bidlin in studio with us as well. Kind enough to stick around after a numbers game earlier this morning. Obviously, co-host of the Long Shots podcast as well. You can get wherever you get your podcast. We're going to talk a lot of Masters here.
Yeah.
But we just had a big NBA segment, not a big NBA segment, a big NBA topic that we were hitting at the very end of our last segment with Draymond Green and all the tanking teams. What have you made of all of the huge spreads we've had and these teams just blatantly saying we want to lose?
It is an unfortunate byproduct of there being the setup that the NBA and so many of the sports that we love, how they're set up, right? Like if there is any incentive at the end of the road to finish with a bad record, you're going to see this stuff. JVT, I did not know what you said about this. I don't know really much what your stance has been the past few months. This is so broken in all the solutions that I hear. It's just, if the fans can't understand without pulling out a rule book what they need to do, what their team needs to do to achieve something at the end of the day, I think it's too far gone. There's just no fixing. In some of the years, it's going to be like this.
Yes. I will respond when my mic is on. So go ahead, Stormy.
We'll work on getting your microphone. JVT was saying words. You want to try again?
That's where
maybe.
There you go.
Okay.
It's just so broken. Like this is, I don't know about you, but it's you and I were texting even last week, right? About some of these MVP and the minutes limits. It's like, oh yeah, like, don't worry, Zach and JVT. I had to go down the rule book last week and figure out that you got 2 exceptions for 16 minutes to 20 minutes play. It's silly when I can't fully explain to someone that comes up and asks me on the street how someone qualifies for MVP without busting out a rule book. That's where we're getting with some of the anti-tanking policies.
Sure.
And it's a very special year when it comes to the NBA draft. And I don't think you're going to get this every year. And would I like there not to be as much of a tanking discussion? Do I think it's good for the NBA? No, I don't think it's good for the NBA. But I think I've seen a lot of solutions that don't make any sense.
Yeah, I think to me, there's a very important thing about this season that is lost upon everybody. And there's a couple of thoughts. First of which is the NBA is the only league that is constantly judged by its worst teams as opposed to its best teams when it comes to the product. The second is if you evaluate the teams that are actually tanking at this point right now, next season, what are your expectations for Washington, Indiana, Utah, and Memphis? All four of those teams are going to be playoff teams, or at least competing for a playoff spot. Memphis, maybe not so much. They're tearing things down, but they're at least going to have some semblance of a team that they're trying to rebuild and have some young talent on. The whole point here being is like you're talking about, this is a uniquely bad year for these teams that don't really have anything going on. The same can be said for Dallas too, by the way, who is probably going to be much better next year, depending on where they land in the lottery. And with the new odds, this is going to change dramatically by the time we get to next season. So I think what happens is we hyper-focus on the negative with this league because nobody watches it during the regular season, and this is all they can talk about. When the reality is we watched Victor Wembanyama and Nikola Jokic over the weekend go toe-to-toe in an absolutely incredible game.
It was awesome.
Postseasons are going to be awesome, and I think that this is going to be relatively a moot point by the time we get to next year.
I also think for us, real quick before we move on, I think for us, we talk betting, right? There's betting opportunities in all of this. I mean, whether we get to the window, get home with these at the end of the day is another story, but almost every little one of these situations that's popped up throughout the season, I think there's been a way to attack it from a betting standpoint. And for us and our audience, I think that's the most important thing.
And you guys have been crushing it with the brain dead parlays too, fading some of these teams when you can.
There's that. You got stat chasers and MVP and rookie of the year right now. I think you can isolate on some
Cooper
stats.
Flag didn't get there yesterday with the points, rebounds, and assists, I believe.
I don't think he did, but 25 field goal attempts. I played at 30-plus points. I'm back on it today.
He has 82 in the last 3 games, I believe.
I think that's right. Yeah.
Let's head out to Augusta, though. You're wearing green for the occasion.
Yeah.
When it comes to your favorite golfer this week, who would it be?
It would be a name you have heard probably a lot this week, but I have been on him all season, already picked up a win with him earlier this year. It's Matt Fitzpatrick. It is. Him and Cameron Young, I think at current price, are still my 2 favorite. The top of the board is strong. I think there's questions with almost every one of them. That's fair. Once you get into the 20s, though, Fitz and Cameron Young are really, really popular to me. Cameron, if you've missed it, what Fitzpatrick's done this year. One is last time he teed up at the Valspar. He was second at the Players, losing out to Cameron Young there. It also has 2 other top 20 finishes on the season. Solid Masters results. He's played here a lot throughout his career. He's got 5 finishes T22 or better, so he kind of checks those boxes as well. I've liked Fitz a lot this season. What he's gotten better with, distance, ball speed off the tee, has been really impressive. And really the one area that's kind of let him down this year has been putting, and he is one of the better putters on the PGA Tour. So I really like Fitz. I know you're hearing a lot of that this week, but I am absolutely in that camp.
Before we get to some of your other outrights, generally, because you and Matt do the modeling and weighting the different statistics, I always like to ask you guys, so what are the categories you're looking at here? You don't necessarily have to be accurate, right, at a course like this.
Right.
Are you good at scrambling, driving distance? What are we looking at here?
Love it. Perfect setup, JVT. And I think Masters is the most important course to have this conversation at, because it is what you have done well over your career and recently, right? Around the green scrambling stats matter here more than any other course that we're going to look at. So it's one of the few times that I'm actually looking for guys that are not only just average or break even in that category, but who's actually good here. Example of this is Hideki Matsuyama. He's known as one of the around the green wizards. I know you hit it out right on him when he won the Masters. He's a guy that you bring up as an example. Great around the green player. And then the other one I go to that's even more important, par 5 scoring. And par 5 scoring, that can mean multiple things. Does that mean you're probably long off the tee? Yeah, it probably does. Does it mean you probably hit long irons pretty well? Yes, it does. I don't really care how you get it done, though, as long as you're scoring on the par 5s. If you go back historically here at Augusta, you have seen roughly 72% of the strokes gained since 2010 have come on the par 5s. Just go back over the past 4 winners. Got this stat from Ron Kloss over at BetSperts. Go back over just the past 4 winners. They are 67 under combined on the par 5. So it is 83% of their scoring has come on the par 5s. That matters a ton this week.
Can I follow up? Because I heard you guys talk about this a little bit on long shots, and it does involve Colin Morikawa a little bit. The arduous nature of actually walking the course, I think, is somewhat underrated. You guys referenced the Tiger thing as he's brought up the injuries that really weighed him down. And it ties into one of the trends that Tyndall had in his article up there at Betfair. The 20-somethings that win this, if you actually look at this, Rory McIlroy, 35 when he won last year. He was only the third 30-something in the last decade to win the Masters. So you actually got to be youthful. You got to be spry.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And I love all the Tyndall trends. We get a lot this time of year for this. I think there's guys like Adam Scott I really love this week. You would say he's kind of one of the older guys out there. But like Tiger's shown, these guys are more physically fit, older these days than we've ever seen before. And look, the younger guys, though, are coming in bigger, better, stronger, right? We talk about this in every other sport. It's the same in golf. So I think there's something to that. It's a bit of an advantage. I don't think that you should be looking away from guys that happen to be 34 years old, though.
Justin Rose, one of the older guys, obviously, and he pushes Rory McIlroy in the playoff last year, all of that. I feel so bad for him. How many runner-ups has this guy had out there at Augusta and hasn't been able to get it done? It's heartbreaking.
It's tough. And he's one of the guys that has a win already this year. You can make the recent form argument. You can make the history at the Masters argument. Yep. And the argument I'll make with him is his number's just too short. I can't get there from a betting standpoint on him. I think Rosie, as you said, he's done so well so many times here. It wouldn't surprise me if he's hanging around the leaderboard. But I think we're looking at one of the better Masters fields that I can remember in a long time. And while there's some real talent at the top, I think it could be beatable. There's questions in almost every one of these guys' games, but I still think this is one of those tournaments. If you're betting outrights, there's only so far you can go down. And I think by the time you hit Justin Rose, you probably hit that point. 35-1
currently on him in the outright market. But let's talk through some of these other things you did ultimately get down on. I know you've got a lot of the derivative markets. So what are some of your favorite plays?
Yeah, I'll just point out a couple here. The Masters is always the tournament I'm going to roll into with the most kind of outrights already in pocket because the futures book has been up for months at this point. So if I didn't have Fitzpatrick, Goddard, Henley, and McNeely already bet so far this season, yes, Fitzpatrick, Cameron Young I'd be going back to. I would probably be betting outrights on Minwoo Lee as well, maybe even on Adam Scott. However, I chose to just attack those guys in placement markets, both those top 20s, and then Xander Schauffele in the top 10 market. I think it's kind of criminal to be looking at an odds board and see Xander Schauffele at longer odds than Ludwig Åberg. Ludwig is awesome. He's great. He's in great form right now. He's done well at the Masters. A couple times he's teed it up. But, man, Xander is still one of the best players on the face of the earth. I think to see him, I was hoping to see him drift into the 20s, and I was probably going to bet an outright. I think I'm just going to save one for live this week. But I do really like Xander, really like Minwoo. Adam Scott has won here before. He's getting longer off the tee. His irons are in really good shape right now, really dialed in. I think he's a good bet. And Jake Knapp have been betting all year. I'm going to go right back to him, top 20.
Awesome breakdown, Kelly. You're the man. Thank you for this.
Appreciate
and everybody,
I thought it was fun.
Make sure
Try to be better next time, JVT.
You got to go check out the Long Shots podcast today. Get those bets in while you can pre-flop. And obviously, I know all week on VSiN and Numbers Game, you guys will be talking through some of the live opportunities. Stay with us. More money moves coming up after this.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
All right, we're rolling along here on this Wednesday edition of Money Moves, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network, Sirius XM Channel 158. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Big seventh inning for the Pod Squad as we welcome you back here. A 4-run top of the seventh. Castellanos had a 2 RBI double. Cronenworth homers as well for another 2 runs. So 4-0 for them in Pittsburgh over the Pirates right now. Continue looking through the updates. Guardians up 4-1 right now. So the Royals did get on the board in that one. And Boston with an early 3-0 lead. We talked about them closing as a favorite once again here today. And they have the early advantage in the third.
Yes, indeed, they do. Some of the better ones are coming up for the day, though. So these are all fine contests, but really looking forward to when the day gets started in 5 minutes because Seattle and Texas will go at it. And Texas got the win yesterday, fell down early, and now Mackenzie Gore will get the start against Brian Wu. This is a really good pitching matchup, so I'm looking forward to this thing getting started.
Yeah, and I mean, at least from an odds standpoint, should be a pretty tightly competitive game. Mariners, minus 118, slight road favorites here. Mackenzie Gore and the Rangers, as you mentioned, minus 102. Total here, 7.5. Did anything stand out to you betting wise?
I'm a little worried about my guy Mackenzie Gore. Just a little bit here. 397 ERA, 368 fielding independent. I think one of the things, the strikeout numbers are there, right? Like he's early on, he's struck out 34%, actually 35% of the batters he's faced. I think you can quibble with some of the contact numbers over the course of these couple of starts. He's already given up 4 barrels. It's a barrel rate of 15%. That's not particularly great. Not a ton of hard hit balls, so maybe that works out for you. But you do worry a little bit that maybe some of that is going to catch up to him. Wu, on the other hand, is fantastic. And this has been a little bit of a series in which these two teams have scuffled. So I think you get a low scoring game. I think the 7 makes a lot of sense if you wanted to go under. Wu, for those who haven't seen in the 13 innings, he's pitched through 2 starts. Absolutely fantastic. 138 ERA, fielding independent of 154. So even though the batting average on balls in play is insanely low, the guy's been absolutely tremendous. 1 barrel through these 2 starts that he has shown. Nothing in terms of hard contact either. So I would expect this is a pretty low scoring affair. And I think Wu, given where we power rate these teams, you go back to yesterday, we talked about this. Eovaldi and the Rangers were small dogs. They eventually get the victory 3-2 yesterday. I feel like you could argue that maybe Texas still deserves to be a favorite with Mackenzie Gore at home, but I'm such a big Brian Wu guy, and I think the ceiling, to use the MJ term, the ceiling is the roof with Wu as you kind of move forward, that he is a pitcher that is worth being priced like this. So I think it's relatively fair that we're sitting here with Wu as about like $1.18 favorite.
Okay. Also, we are underway in Baltimore, Chicago. Still scoreless right now, early in the second. And as we were talking, the Pirates got on the board with a sac fly. So 4-1 now, San Diego, Pittsburgh here early. We'll talk plenty more baseball throughout the course of the day. A couple more games still to get underway in our window today. But to shift gears here real quickly, back to the Masters briefly. I could not believe the take that you delivered in our commercial break saying that you think, quote, pimento cheese is trash and other expletives.
That was not the quote, by the way.
No, that was part of it.
Just say careful. You already got in trouble before.
Other expletives then soon followed.
Yeah.
But what is your vendetta on pimento cheese?
I think, so I enjoy cheese to an extent, but I'm not big on cheese in general. So like cream cheese, I don't really enjoy it that much. So the pimento cheese, like the cheesy flavor. Okay, so it's more of,
is it like a consistency
really
thing for you?
No, it's just the cheese. If I say the cheesy flavor, you know what I'm talking about. Just generally that weird cheesy flavor. I didn't think pimento was very good.
That's like one of my favorite flavors in life.
Cream cheese, garbage, and pimento cheese, when I had it last year for the first time, absolute trash. And I would say that egg salad, which you experienced for the first time, is much better.
I did. I experienced an egg salad sandwich for the first time in Japan. For anybody on social media, if you've seen some of the Japanese 7-Eleven stuff, that's like a very famous thing for them there. So I felt like while I was there on vacation, I needed to do it. My husband ate like 4 of these things. But for my first experience, it was really good. And we also went to this place called Age 3, which is another kind of TikTok viral place where they have like these half toasted sandwich things that they put in egg salad. And it was awesome. So I've converted. I think that's great. Apparently the move at the Masters, though, is to do half of an egg salad sandwich, half of the pimento cheese sandwich, and you put them together.
Yeah, you mask the pimento cheese with a better sandwich.
And not fatty. You tweet at us, though, at me JVT, at Storm Bonantoni. Is JVT being a hater because pimento cheese is the best? I argue yes.
The best.
It's amazing. I think it's a North Carolina thing in my brain because I had never had it until I moved out there to the East Coast.
You guys made me eat like soggy peanuts one time, and
I did not. I told you those were disgusting.
Drop an F. that was nasty.
They're disgusting. It's such a Southern thing. Bold. I said bold, like a Southern. Boiled peanuts. They taste like salty peas. They're disgusting. Yeah. So I told you not to eat them, and then you're like, "Oh no, I'll do it." That's
I
on
got to
you.
try everything
That's on
once,
you.
but that was disgusting.
Not my problem. We have 3 games in the National Hockey League coming up tonight as well. TNT National doubleheader, Oilers Sharks, as well as Sabres Rangers. Third game of the day, also Caps Maple Leafs.
Come on.
Capitals.
Headliner.
What?
Oilers Sharks. Let's go. Come on now.
What do you want to get it to?
I mean, this is the headliner, is it not? This is, I know what's going on with Buffalo. The Rangers kind of stink. Whatever. Who cares about Washington and Toronto? This is the heavyweight battle of the day. This is a team trying to win its division. It's another team trying to make it into the postseason. Some would say that there is a Hart Trophy contender on the Sharks. Is that the MVP? Yeah, right. Okay. All right. Max and Celebrini. I think I got that one right. I got to make sure, this is it. This is the heavyweight battle tonight in the National Hockey League.
Although it doesn't feel like a heavyweight battle in my mind because I think we're going to get a ton of goals. The one bet that comes to mind for me is the over 6.5. That just instantly, because for as well as Edmonton had been playing defense and it seemed like they were within structure for a while, they have been brutal the last 2 games. They get embarrassed by Vegas on Saturday, 5-1. They give up 6 last night in an overtime loss to the Mammoth. Thankfully for them, it was in overtime though, so they at least still get 1 point when it comes to the Pacific Division standings. And they're in the top spot right now. But from a number standpoint, JVT, they've given up 10 plus quality scoring chances in 3 straight games and 4 of the last 5. Sharks are a very capable scoring team, more so at home than on the road. That 6.5 seems like a gift. We've seen numerous 7s in Edmonton games throughout the course of the year because they are such a high caliber scoring team. Even without Leon Draisaitl, I know the power play has had its issues, but they're still scoring at will.
So even though that this is going to maybe take on a playoff type atmosphere, they're just both so poor defensively that this would not
correct.
Be okay. All right.
And it's similar to the conversation that we had. What game was it that we were talking about the other day? The Nashville game earlier this week, where I was like,
Nashville, LA.
Yes, where it depends on what you're going to get, because you were trying to make the argument for the over, and that's a game that ultimately did have the playoff-like feel, and it was tighter checking. Then you have other ones where what we were talking about potential. Well, a lot of people liked the under yesterday in Carolina and Boston.
I was actually going to invoke San Jose on Saturday. I watched them in a very big playoff game. I think it was against Nashville, and they ultimately won or lost 6-3.
Yeah,
that was a very important game.
I mean, the Oilers needed points yesterday, right? And so it's still another one of those really high 11 total goals scored type games. So that's kind of the feel that I have right now. And the Sharks, like I said, playing better at home, and they've kind of gotten out of their funk lately. They had that skid of 6 straight games, won 5 of 6 since. They seem to be in much better form.
Yeah, and the scheduling spot, I would assume that this is pretty positive. I mean, they've been at home since March 28th. They had a game on the road, and this has been part of a really long homestand to end the year. So,
and second half of back-to-back for Edmonton too.
Yeah, so like rest situation, all of these things, it would seem that San Jose is a pretty good spot here, despite the fact that they are. Is it surprising that they're small dogs? You gauge the market better than I do. -125 is the price now in Edmonton.
No, I think that the expectations for Edmonton are just higher. So that kind of, in a lot of ways, I think dictates the market. And this price seems fair and makes sense to me where they're at right now.
And they've been bet up here at Cirque. I mean, Cirque opened up -111, and we're up to -119 over there. Over there. We're sitting here.
I lean under in the Sabres Rangers game. It's juiced to -125 though, so I'm not particularly interested in that. Same thing with the Capitals and Leafs. Like, I like the Caps -155, but is that too hefty of a price right now? Maybe you find something else in the NBA or another sport to do a money line parlay with to get a little bit more bang for your buck there. That game in particular, just the Leafs are dead. And like we talk about fading tanking teams, it's not that the Leafs are tanking. They're just really bad. They have nothing to play for right now. Meanwhile, the Capitals are in a position where they are still alive and trying to fight to make something happen for that last wild card spot. I think it's a long shot, slim chances. They're 5 points back now with 4 games left, but they're well rested in this spot. Won the previous 2 against Toronto as well on the puck line, mind you, 4-2, 4-0 in the previous 2 matchups this season. So Caps are nothing for me in that game in Toronto.
All right. This one I really didn't have much on. I'm trying to gauge some of these scheduling spots and these big high leverage games, as opposed to maybe grabbing in or jumping in on some of these teams that one of them doesn't have much to play for, while the other, I mean, Washington is pretty much out of it as well at this point. I don't think you would be able to make up a 5-point gap?
Still trying, but that's exactly what I said. They're 5 points back with 4 games to go. It seems unlikely. Just to put some numbers for you toward the Sharks, though, to make the postseason, they are 3 points back right now, +265 to make, -330 to miss. Kings a point back of that final spot, -110 each way, so they're the predicted team to ultimately make that. Jets 4 points back, 15-1, -4,000 to miss. So the more unlikely of the group.
Your Ducks are on somewhat solid footing.
They're going to make the playoffs.
You bet that, right? To make the
playoffs. Yeah. But I have the Golden Knights to win the division. So come on, boys.
We're head to head on that?
With the NBA and NHL postseason almost here, though. Remember, we at VSiN have you covered. Our boy Jonathan Davis, speaking of hockey, he's got daily breakdowns on the website each and every day with his best bets as we go. VSiN.com. You'll also get all of our betting splits data from DraftKings and Circa, all of the MLB coverage, everything you need. Your one-stop shop. Head over to VSiN.com/subscribe right now. Sign up for as little as $9.99 your first 30 days or save 50% with an annual subscription. Again, vsin.com/subscribe. We'll be right back.
You're watching Money Moves here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Chat, you've got the opinions. Now it's time to put your money where your mouth is. Cut is the social betting platform that lets you bet directly against your friends and other users on sports, politics, pop culture, whatever you want, even personal bets. Every bet fully customizable and pre-funded, so nobody can flake out if they lose. Plus, you get cash back on every single bet you make as well. Use the promo code VSIN today to get a 20% deposit bonus on your first deposit. That's VSIN. Download Cut today at KUTT.com or in the App Store. And again, use that promo code VSiN. Stormy Buonantony, Jonathan Von Tobel with you. Speaking of the chat, thank a handful of you for chiming in on the conversation. I asked for tweets. I got them. Matt said, Stormy, kick JVT off the set. If you don't like cream cheese, you're from another planet. Sincerely, Matt from Charlotte via Florida. So we have at least one supporter of the cream cheese and pimento cheese saga. And my mom also is listening, apparently, and said, soggy peanuts are nasty.
Okay, so. There we go.
You need to get on board with the pimento cheese, though. I don't understand.
I mean, I don't need to do anything.
I think you should.
I've not. Yeah, it was gross. I smashed those egg salad sandwiches though.
They are good. Let's get into some NBA talk here, though. I was bummed for the Hornets last night. Tough loss to Boston, dropping them now to the 9 spot in the play-in. Celtics very close to cementing that 2 seed in the East, but not yet. Did see a big win for the Rockets as well. First game with KD back in Phoenix, had their biggest rally of the season, 119-105, and they're in good position now to potentially leapfrog the Lakers, who yesterday, not only didn't have Luka Doncic, Austin Reeves, didn't have LeBron either, and they had their head coach freaking out and calling out all of their players, essentially. Here is JJ Redick on the podium after the game yesterday.
You know, I just called the early timeout because Rui didn't do his job, and so took him out of the game. We got to find 9 guys that are like all in on us fighting.
What led to the exchange between you and Jared Vanderbilt early on in the second quarter?
Just a confluence of things. Again, it's nothing personal with him. Normal stuff from my end. I think for all of us, being undermanned and we've got to scrap and claw. We've got to all be on the same page. We got to be great teammates. We got to all play hard. Called a timeout to get him out of the game, and he reacted. But again, normal interaction for me.
What was he not doing in his shift then? To take him out. Like what?
Again, it was a confluence of things, Dan.
JJ, you mentioned on Saturday, the practice before the Dallas game, that you're going to ask DeAndre to do some different things. What are those things, and how do you think he's?
He's had trouble catching the ball. So we've ran a bunch of plays for him. He's just had trouble catching the ball, and I don't know if that's the passing or if it's him trying to get position. He hasn't been able to catch the ball.
So,
I mean, I am curious if this works in a big picture thing. I mean, at some point, you do have to wonder if the constant calling out in press conferences is something that wears thin on these guys. Did you watch the actual interaction between him and Jared Vanderbilt? Yeah. It wasn't really an interaction. He ignored him the whole time and then just walked off.
Vanderbilt was ticked off and was trying to talk to him, and he was not looking at him at all.
You've seen me before. I'm down with conflict. I'm down with doing that, though, face to face and actually having it out, as opposed to doing what JJ Redick did, which was you could argue, relatively disrespectful to Vanderbilt. I mean, if you're going to do something, let's talk about this and let's figure out what's going on. So you do wonder. And, I'd be curious to see if he has these interactions with Luka Doncic, with Austin Reeves, with LeBron James.
It feels performative every time that this happens.
So I think that there might be an expiration date to something like this. And I'll invoke a Ime Udoka type. Ime Udoka is famously like this and hasn't really gone well at the end of the year for the Houston Rockets and his coaching ability. So maybe this will work out when everybody's healthy and ready to go. Yesterday was maybe just a bad day. Everybody has them. Nobody's available. You get absolutely smoked by the Thunder, 123-87. So potentially just, hey, everything comes together, as he put it, a confluence of factors, which, by the way, follow up. What were the confluence of factors? We're not children. Tell us what happened. But I think at the end of the day, this team's really beat up. They're very, very flawed, even with their three guys out there. And now it's just falling apart at the seams. And you hit an important point. It's not even anymore about, hey, what's going to happen with the 3 seed here for the Los Angeles Lakers? As it stands right now, they could slip to as far as 5. And that would obviously be pretty poor for a team who at the very least was looking at home court advantage in the first round of the postseason.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier this week, just how far out those odds have gone now for the Western Conference, for the NBA Finals, everything since those major injuries. And I know Doncic and Reeves are trying to do everything they can to see if they can expedite the process for the injuries, but it's looking pretty bleak right now. And it's unfortunate because I know something you brought up earlier this week as well was just the fact that it would be fun to see LeBron maybe with this group one more time, see what they could do, if anything.
Narratively, it would be great if LeBron just pulled this team up by the scruff of its neck and beat the Houston Rockets for a series. I mean, that would be absolutely tremendous. And to be honest with you, like just solo LeBron, the Rockets are so flawed and they're a nightmare too that, you know, you do wonder maybe there's a reality that could happen. I don't know if that's actually going to be the case, like him by himself, but wouldn't it be great to see that happen just one time? It would.
The other thing that kind of bothered me just listening to Redick is, in everything you're saying, yes, you're criticizing effort and you're criticizing everyone else, but isn't effort also something that, at least in part, is on the coach in motivating your team to do certain things? And I never heard an I from JJ Redick. It was all you, pointing fingers at other people. So that's another layer of it. We'll see how it ultimately is received and if they can make up for it in the final days here of the regular season coming up. We do have a 7-game slate today, including a national doubleheader on ESPN, both games with postseason seeding implications, the Hawks and Cavs, Blazers and Spurs. And let's start with that one here because the news of the day yesterday, of course, was Victor Wembanyama dealing with the rib bruise. Following testing and imaging on Tuesday, everything reportedly came back negative. Per reports, the team is very optimistic about the injury and there not being long-term concerns. That said, he is not going to play today. Listed as out. The Spurs are still 3.5-point favorites against the Trailblazers. Total 228.5. And this is the first of 3 games now remaining where if Wembanyama wants to be available for any of these postseason accolades, Defensive Player of the Year, first team All-Pro, all of that stuff, NBA first team, you have to play at least 20 minutes in one of those games. Portland at home today, Dallas Friday, Denver in the regular season finale on Sunday.
Yeah. So this is an interesting game for many different reasons. The ones you've already mentioned. And it looks like for Portland, Jeremy Grant's out, but Shaedon Sharpe was upgraded to doubtful. So that's going to be big for them as they get into the play-in game because Shaedon Sharpe, of course, is going to be a pretty big deal to have him out there and have him available and ready to go by the time you guys get in there into playing playoff basketball. He's only played 42 games so far this year. So that's going to be pretty important. Stephon Castle also doubtful here too. So I would lean a little bit toward Portland if the Spurs are going to be this shorthanded. Trailblazers still have plenty of motivation to get this done. They are a full game behind the Los Angeles Clippers with a game left. But again, they want to get into that 8 seed because then you get 2 cracks at it. Even if you lose that game, you get to play the winner of that 9-10 matchup at the play-in to get into the postseason. So this is a very big spot for them. And for San Antonio, really, you've got nothing. You've got, what are we talking? A couple of games left and you're 3 games back, as you mentioned, against Oklahoma City. I would assume that you're going to get a pretty good effort here for Portland and maybe allow them to steal this one from the Spurs. So lean toward the Trailblazers. Again, it's all situational, but even with that short number, Portland at least has a lot to play for here.
And should San Antonio lose or OKC beats the Clippers tonight as they're favored to do so by 7.5, OKC will firmly cement that top seed in the Western Conference and best overall record in the NBA. Atlanta can also clinch a playoff spot and the Southeast Division title with a win tonight over Cleveland. Potential first round preview here as well. If you look at all the analytics side, this is the most likely first round matchup that we will see. And the Hawks heater cooled off a little bit the other day, but can they get back on track today?
Well, the question is going to be whether Donovan Mitchell plays or not. He is questionable here still in the most recent injury report. Jalen Tyson downgraded to doubtful, so he's probably not going to be out there. Dean Wade questionable too. Talked about this with our buddies on VSiN by the Book earlier this morning. The Cavs' intentions of what they're trying to do from a seeding and opponent standpoint are going to be front and center with how they want to handle Donovan Mitchell here today. In theory, you could put your best foot forward, beat Atlanta, and try to help Toronto get into that spot if you think that they're going to be an opponent worth taking on. Or you can kind of manipulate it here, give Donovan Mitchell a night off, and see what happens, if you will, against the Atlanta Hawks. So, like you said, seems like we're staring a Cavs-Hawks matchup in the face for a first-round series, which would be a ton of fun. And the other part of it, too, is Atlanta trying to desperately hold on potentially to the 5 seed if they want to stay on that side and stay, more importantly, on the side of the bracket of Detroit as opposed to Boston if you think you have a better chance of beating the Pistons. This is always the intricacies of these games as we're talking about this portion of the year. But Donovan Mitchell questionable makes it a little hard to dive into at this point if we just don't know what his status is going to be.
Yeah, so keep tabs on that on social media with all the insiders and everything. Cavs won 9 of their last 11 games, but a lot of them have been to bad teams as well. So I don't know how much you take that into account. JVT, the Bucks, Bulls, Pelicans, Jazz, Pacers, Grizzlies, all of them in the mix, and they haven't really been covering those numbers either, covered in just 3 of their last 12. Meanwhile, the Hawks, I mentioned their heater cooling off, but they were on a really sick run there for a minute, won 18 of their last 21 straight up, covering in 16 of those games as well.
No interest in Detroit, Milwaukee, or Denver, Memphis, huh?
We can talk about those still.
I was just joking because they're 20 and 23 point favorites, respectively.
But if you want to get weird, I mean, how many of these big favorites have actually been covering those numbers?
Yeah, I mean, they've been smoking these teams.
So
let's talk about a parlay then, huh?
Let's get weird coming up next. We do have a couple more MLB games that are set to have first pitch in short order. We will preview those and continue our NBA conversation as we kick off the second hour of the program after this quick timeout.